guys, and welcome back to episode 15 of the Scania 143 restoration. This is where we're up to. You've seen in the last episode all the cab got primered. This is now all dried off completely and it's looking really well, really sharp, really clean lines. All the body gaps are absolutely spot on this truck. All the back of the cab straight as an arrow. Tom's done a really nice job on this, as always. Windscreen frame come out really well. Again, down this side, straight as an arrow, guys. A credit to Tom for that work, for the prep, the priming. Again, the next stage on this is going to be a guide coat. We'll give it a dust in a black, block it all by hand, and then that will then pick out any bits of imperfections in this paint. So basically, well, in the primer, basically any bits of black that are left from the guide coat after hand blocking. We know it's a slight low spot or a pinprick or just any imperfections will be picked out on that guide coat, and then it'll be re-primered once the little bits of imperfections have been dealt with. So that is where we're up to on the cab. Again, I'll show you in here. You get the damn door open. All the door, inside the door, and all around the door frame has also been primered, treated and prepped. So what's next, guys? What's next is sort out some of this workshop, because we've made an absolute mess yesterday dealing with that. We wired some additional lights and stuff onto this yesterday, so we are in need of a bit of a clear up. So we have a bit of a tidy up, and then what I need to do is get this gantry here over there onto the back of this locker. So I've got to push the gantry over, run it all the way to this back end, and I need to lift the back end of this locker up just to finish off the last bit of weld, which is something that I didn't finish off last time. I've rebuilt all this bottom end of this, but the way it was situated, it was actually laid with this side onto the ground while I was welding this up, so I didn't actually have access to get to this rear section. So I'm going to lift this locker up in the air just so I can get to that bottom end. I've got that to weld up. I've got some plates that I need to cap the ends of these off with on there. These are for our wheel chock holders. These just end caps was rotten, so we've lobbed them off. We're just going to put some pieces of nice thick 3mm steel across there to house our wheel chocks. And then I've just got to trim off this bit of rust there and make two new inspection covers, in fact one new inspection cover, because one is actually okay, this side's okay, it's this side we need to make a new cover for. So there's that to do. I've got some bits of welds to flat back. I need to take off all these bits of checker plate again up here, get them off, and then I think, guys, oh no, there's one more thing I need to do. I need to just trim out where I've welded this up here. This should be a marker light what goes in there. Obviously I just squared that off when I repaired it, so that just needs ovaling out to the size, ready to accept the new marker light. Then it is ready for bodywork. Tom can jump on this. Once Tom has finished working on the cab, we can then get back in that cab, finish that wiring off while Tom's working on these. So we've all got something to do. We're all out of each other's way. I've got Hunter's plant weld coming out on Tuesday. Today's Sunday. They did actually come out last Friday and try and press these pins out for us, but they are absolutely sea solid, so we've made the decision these are after going to be thermal lanced out. So we need to make some steel sheet plates to cover all this stuff here to stop it all getting melted and damaged, because those thermal lances, if anyone's ever seen them in action, they are pretty brutal, and once they are lit, that is it, they are lit. So we need to protect as much as we can on there. We've decided we are going to repaint this chassis again. The chances are, obviously, the thermal lance is going to cause some damage to the paint, and there is certain bits of this that we're not entirely happy with anyway. We've also got a spring we need to change, so that's going to need painting, and also all the rams and the underlift still needs painting because that hasn't actually been done yet. So we've made the decision, once the rams are done and they are reconditioned and we've put them back in with new pins and bushes, we're just going to completely repaint this whole back end, all the lifting gear, the chassis, front to back is all going to get done again to make it all nice and fresh. More paint, more protection, you know, the more the merrier. So that is the plan for that. So I'm going to crack on now, guys. I'm going to move some stuff out of the way I'm going to gain some access to get that gantry over there, which is going to be a bit of a challenge on my own because that thing weighs a ton and it's not the easiest thing to drag around. It doesn't particularly want to go where you want it to go. So I'm going to crack on, guys, get going. I'll see you all in a bit. Right guys, so we have a bit of a tidier workshop. Still not amazing, but we made some room. Just enough room so I can get round and do what I need to do. So I've got the gantry over the back end there. Obviously I've ran the block and tackle into its position. I've lassoed the back end of this locker and I've lifted it up. Obviously just dropped a stand under there just in case anything goes not to plan. Just a bit of a fail safe. So I'm going to get around this side now. I'm going to try and position my camera in a better position for you guys so you can see what I'm doing. Just bear with me 1 second. Right guys, so what we're going to do here is this piece what I've put in previously down there, I need to just put a finishing plate on that. So I'm going to use the good old masking tape trick. I'll just get around this other side and I'll show you what I'm going to do there. And there we can see the outline of what we need. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this to the bench, I'm going to cut this shape out, place that onto a piece of steel, draw around our template, take that back off, and then cut our shape out of our steel, then place it against here, weld it in nice and tidy. Right guys, so there we have our patch that we just put out. That will slot in there pretty well. Got tiny bit of a gap in this corner, a couple of mil, but we'll get that with a welder, no big issue. We'll be able to fill that with weld, and that fits in there pretty damn well. Obviously we're going to seam this all the way around now, and then we're going to grind all the welds back and make it an invisible repair as we've done with the majority of the other stuff. So I'm going to grab the grinder, I'll start cleaning these edges up, and I'll get the welder out and we'll start to get this welded in. guys, so there we have our finished patch. A little bit more cleaning up to do. Obviously a lot of this is going to have a little bit of a skimmer filler just to smooth it off and get rid of the scratches and the grind marks, but that's come out okay. It's a nice flush repair, no overlaps, no dodgy welds sticking out anywhere, so that all ties in around the back of there nicely. And we also finished off underneath there as well. That's all done, so that's now nice and tidy. So the next stage of this build is trimming out this load of nasty rot across there. So we're going to trim out as much of this as we can, and then all we're going to do is make our inspection cover slightly taller so that it bolts to the good steel rather than having to weld all this up. Just makes sense to do it that way, easier to do. So we're going to crack on with that now, guys. Get that bit done, a couple more bits and bobs to do. I'll catch you all in a bit. Right guys, so the next job, I've made a template off one of our original holes down there for the side marker lights. As you can see on this side we've got two holes, so I've made a template of this front one, cut our piece out. On this side we've got a hole down there which I still need to trim out. I'm going to do that next. And also where this has had a repair in the past, we've not done this bit, this has been done at some point in the truck's history. It should have a marker light somewhere around here. So I'm going to stick this in its correct position. I'm going to go and measure up the other side to make sure we've got them even. Stick that exactly where it needs to be, draw around it, and then we're going to get the plasma cutter out and just zip that hole out. And then I'm going to do the same and trim that one. So I'm going to get to that now, and I'll be back soon. Move on round here. We've trimmed out our holes as we mentioned earlier. I've put the additional hole in there for the other marker light in the correct position. I measured all that up, and I've just welded a plate. You can't see, it's pretty dark. I've just welded a plate in there. That's another section that I forgot about. So guys, that is the welding on the lockers completely finished. Thank God. that has been an absolute mission. I keep saying it's done, and then I find a little bit more and a little bit more, but that is it. I've been through it now, I've double checked, and everything is done. That is the welding complete. That's a massive, massive relief. I don't even know how much time I've spent on them lockers. It's just been day after day after day after day. That now means Tom can crack on and get these prepped up, get them skimmed, get them primed, and whatever else he needs to do to them. They are now out of my hands. We're going to be moving on now, hopefully get this cab painted. I can then get in that cab, do the wiring, while Tom jumps on, gets these lockers done. I'm going to speak to the steel fabricator because we've had new beams made for the rear and the front section, what them lockers actually mount onto, because they was quite rotten. If you go back through the episodes, you'll see the state they was in. We weren't going to risk rehanging the lockers on them with the weight that's involved, plus all the equipment that's going in there. They've told me they will be ready early next week, so I'm going to give them a call tomorrow and see where they're at with them. Hopefully they're done, which then means we can get those bolted on as well while Tom is working on the lockers, crack on, get some bits done on that cab, and move on into these rear cab mounts and cab brackets. We've already done the front, but the rears are just as bad, so we're going to be going through all them as well. Hopefully plant weld guys can get those pins out of those rams on Tuesday. That is the massive elephant in the room now. That's really holding us up, so we need to get those off for recon. They're probably going to be away for a couple of weeks, so we can't really do much else now on that chassis until they're done. We certainly can't start painting, so need to get those done, get them back on, get all that painted. Once we got the cross members on and those lockers back on, the project should start moving along really, really quickly then, and we should actually start getting somewhere. Right guys, start of another evening, just another couple of hours on this tonight. Not an awful lot going on, but I'll tell you what we are going to do this evening shortly. You'll see there, Tom has started to guide coat the cab, as I was saying. And the previous clip, he'll give it a dusting of black, and you can see there where he started to rub some of it down. You can see it's nice and smooth. So what we want to be looking for is everything like that, nice and grey, no black left in anything after we've rubbed it. Anything that is left in black, obviously we know it's an imperfection or it's a low spot, so then we'll have to just sort of touch it in with a little bit more filler or stopper. But so far so good. He's done all the roof, he's done all down the A-pillars. That's all come out pretty well. He's done all the back of the cab again. Take you around this side. And he's done majority of this side. You can see there, these are the bits that he's not actually rubbed yet. So far so good guys. He's not picked up any imperfections in that paint. It's ended up really flat. So that is pretty good. Now, we've also had delivery of our new cross members. You'll see them back on one of the first episodes. I'm not entirely sure which one it was. One of the first episodes we actually removed these from the vehicle because they was wafer thin. After it had been shot blasted particularly, some of these came out pretty bad. These are the brackets or the mounts, cross members, whatever you want to call them, that the lockers fasten to. So you have one at the front, one at the back, the lockers slot on, and then you bolt the lockers through into these. Obviously we didn't want to take any chances with them being thin, as they was, because these lockers hold a hell of a lot of weight and they're also very, very heavy even when they're empty. So we want to make sure that this is nice and strong and as good as it can be. So massive thanks to Ken Brogdon's fabricators and welders in Haywood, right in Manchester. They've made these up for us and they've done an absolutely fantastic job. As you can see there, these are an absolute like for like of the originals. They've welded in the nice base plates to thicken this up for where the rubber pads sit. Same again on that side. They've laser cut the chamfer back in it for us, and also the notches where this sits onto our chassis. We have got to weld this onto our chassis, but that's all pretty good. We've also got our loop here where some of the pipe work runs through, hydraulic pipes. Done a really, really, really nice job of that. Really happy with that. And this one is the front one, which is just made out of a box section. We've actually done this like for like again. This is actually an odd size box section. I can't remember what size it were. It might have been 50mm, but it's not a very common size in this country. It's sort of an American imperial size. It's something he was talking about. So it's not actually a size that he had in his shop. So he ordered this steel in especially for us, so that we know this is going back to how it was, because we don't want any fitment issues and we don't want the body to sit uneven or anything like that. So he's done a really good job of that. He's ordered that steel in for us. He's chopped off the original tank, fuel tank brackets, welded these back on for us onto our new cross member. So yeah, very, very nice job indeed. We can't put them back on just yet. Obviously, we've got a lot going on here at the back end, and also Tommy's still rubbing the cab. So we're going to leave these off for now. We're going to paint the inside of these, or the inside of this one, because that actually needs welding to the chassis. So there's no point welding the outside, but we do need to paint the inside because we won't be able to get to that properly once it's welded on the chassis. Probably do the same again with that. Paint the inside of the tubes, paint the underneath, just so that we know it's got paint and protection on it so it doesn't start to rot very quickly. Then we'll bolt it on the vehicle, and then we'll paint the whole thing once it's on. We've got the plant weld guys coming out tomorrow. So the plan of action for this evening's work is we need to make some sort of a belly plate in here to protect all this pipe work and wiring, because these pins are getting thermal lanced out and it is quite a destructive process. So we want to make sure we protect as much of this as possible to prevent any damage or minimize the damage to any of this pipe work. It's going to be quite difficult for him to do that without damaging anything, but it is what it is. They can only do what they can do. So these pins have got to come out regardless. So if we end up damaging some pipe work or wiring, we'll just have to deal with that as it comes and get that replaced, but we'll do our best to prevent that. So we're going to make some belly pans under here just as a temporary measure to catch some of the spatter that's going to come off there and the hot molten metal. We've got to get the gantry back over this rear end, get it on the block and tackle, so when the guy, we basically need to take the weight of this because it currently is sat on blocks. We need to take the weight of this, so when the guy comes out tomorrow to chop these pins out, he knows that all the weight is off these rams, and he can also lift this body away to pull these rams out rather than struggling with it in a tight spot. So we need to get the gantry back over here, get that back on the block and tackle. The gantry is currently over on our lockers. As you can see, the workshop's quite full at the minute, so I've got a bit of jiggling around to do, move some vehicles, get that gantry out, drop that back to the ground, and make sure it's safe and it's not going to fall over, and that will probably see us finished for this evening. So I'm going to crack on, guys. I'll see you in a bit. guys. So what you're seeing there was we got the gantry up on the back end, lifted the back up just to take the weight of that underlift. We've ended up putting the pin back in the top of this ram. I previously removed that, trying to get the ram out, but obviously I couldn't get the bottom pins out. So we just thought for safety, while the guys are coming out tomorrow to lance these bottom pins out, we put the top pins back in, just so that they're going to stay in position so he's not fighting against the ram or having to try and strap that up. So we've just run the stacker in there to lift that back into position. We've put the top pins back in. We've disconnected all the hydraulic pipes off there as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, tomorrow they'll be out. These rams will be off. We can send them off to be rebuilt, new seals, all re-chrome plated, or even new pistons. I'm not entirely sure what they'll do yet. We don't know if them are savable, but we'll soon find out. We've got our cross members back, as you've seen earlier, so hopefully we can crack on with them soon as well. Tom's going to plod on now the next few days, get this cab painted, and then hopefully we can make a bit of progress. Progress is going to be slow now. There's not a lot of footage I can get until that's painted and then rams are done, and then we can start making some real progress, and it should hopefully start coming back together quite quickly once we've got the lockers and everything ready to go back on. Hopefully the next couple of weeks all the interior will be back as well. We'll show you what we've done with that, and we can start getting that put back in once the cab's painted, to keep it in the cab, keep it clean and tidy and out of the workshop floor. So that's going to be it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a share. Feel free to drop any comments. I'll see you on the next one.